I want to talk with y'all a little bit about turkey broadheads. Some of y'all may be considering hunting turkeys with a bow for the first time. Some of y'all may have used a broadhead last year on turkeys and wasn't satisfied with it, and some of y'all may have used a bullhead last year and want to use the standard broadhead, something that's a little easier to maneuver around with and a little less aggravating to carry. And some of y'all may be like me, getting into trad shooting. I've been shooting a compound for years. I pretty much know what works. I've shot with a lot of people who've shot different weight compounds and all. I'm pretty experienced on that level. If you're going to shoot just a standard broadhead, you are really giving up a lot of cutting surface area that you could get away with. Look at the comparison. Here's a Wasp, which is not a big mechanical, and it pretty much dwarfs that Muzzy, and it's got the same blade angle. So that's a head you might consider if you shoot a low poundage compound down around 45-50 pounds. As you move up in weight, say 50 to 55, you might want to consider the Gobbler Getter. Now this is a Spitfire, but it's built the same way, same size, virtually the same size. And as you move on up to 60 pounds, here's a head Hunter Andrews shoots. This is a hammerhead, and this is it closed and that open, and it's getting on up there pretty big. The hammerhead is a 2-inch cut, so it's a good 60-pound bow. You're gonna have other broadheads out there that you may prefer, like the Grim Reaper, good 60-65 pound bow, maybe even down to 55 pounds. Probably could get away with it. And here's a head I picked up a while ago. This is the bipolar that Tim Knight makes. It's a very good, here it is closed. It's a very good head, very well designed. I wish he would make this head much bigger. I would love to shoot it, but I think what I'm shooting has a little bit more killing power than that as of right now. Here's the head I shot for years. They don't make them anymore. It's a Tritrisca. Here it is closed, here it is opened. Now it triggers not like the Vortex, it triggers at the back. And I want to talk to you about that a little bit. I don't want to forget that point. Here's a Hypershock. Here it is closed and open, and it triggers from the back the same way as the Tritrisca did. And here's the Stiletto, very good head, open and closed, and it triggers. It's just a Vortex copycat with a cut on contact tip, which I really like. It's not near as durable as the Vortex. Here's no Vortex, and they're about to make a 3.25-inch model, which will be super deadly, and that's probably will be one of my go-to heads in the future. Here's a go-to head now, and this is a Dead Ringer Just Nasty, another Vortex copycat. Real good head. Now this head, and this head is like a 70-pound head out of a compound. You don't really want to shoot this head. Maybe 65 out of a real hot bow, and you don't want to shoot that head less than 65 pounds, and you don't want to shoot it with a lightweight arrow. You definitely want to go on up around the 550 to 650 grain arrow to shoot a head that size. And same for this Tomahawk that I've been shooting for years. This Tomahawk, you can get away with a little less poundage than you can the Just Nasty. There it is closed, and here it is open. And the reason is it's so small closed, you actually, if you do hit in the wings, you don't cut as many feathers on the way in. It's kind of got a little bit of more of a delayed opening. This head, 90% of the time this head is just barely opening when it hits flesh, or either it's completely closed and it opens as it hits flesh. So you get through the feathers with a head of this design, and that really aids in penetration. But I still, you know, I shoot 70 pounds and a real heavy arrow, and before I shot a heavy arrow I was getting about this much penetration, and I went up 50 grains and I started just about centering the arrow up in the turkey, and I went up another 50 grains, and now I either pass through or my fletching will be hanging in the turkeys, which is really good. I think I can get by with a butt of the wing shot with this head because it does go in so small, and I've got by with that before. When you hit in the butt of the wing and only get just a cut just a feather or two in two, and it goes on in and penetrates. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and it's hard for me to explain, is when you start shooting the heads like the Swacker, and I shot the Trisca for years. It's built that way where it triggers at the rear, and this Hypershock triggers at the rear. And what you'll have to see, I'll show you as I demonstrate it, is when the head goes in, it goes in and it stays closed on the way in, and when it gets back here and hits this little trigger, it begins to open. But the downside is this trigger only has to move like a 1/4 of an inch, and this part out front has to come out almost a full inch. So these little triggers are dull, the back side of the blade is dull, so something is going to have to plow through flesh that is dull, so it really limits penetration. So if you shoot a Swacker, or you shoot this Hypershock, or if you have some old Triscas, do like I did, make sure that you sharpen this wing right here, because it's going to have to cut some through as this is trying to open. It always has to cut. So I always sharpen my Triscas, a little wing that didn't come sharp, and they actually had a little hook and it was dull. I cut that hook off, I sharpened it. You want to make sure your Swacker wings are razor sharp and whatever in that design. And another thing that's bad about this design head, just bad about the Swackers, the Hypershocks and the Triscas, should you hit really high on a turkey and only hit feathers, or maybe one of these blades just barely catches the top of his back, as it's opening, it actually kicks out and it pushes away. So if you hit really high and hit just feathers, you're not going to kill that turkey with this head. On the other hand, if you shoot really high with a Vortex, or in one of these Vortex copycat heads, you can hit all the way up to where the main arrow is going to even pass over feathers. If this blade catches a feather, it pulls down into the turkey. It'll start off up here, and then it'll dive as this blade is opening, and it'll end up kind of at an angle down, and it'll cut the spine in two. And I've done that many times. I did that on a turkey last year in Tennessee. I actually went through the turkey's head, but it ended up hitting on top of his back, and the arrow just kind of flipped over, cartwheeled over, cut his back in two. The turkey that I shot in Georgia, that number 3 last turkey I shot in Georgia, you'll see that arrow hit right on the top of the back, and it opened and cut the turkey's spine in two. I shot that turkey probably with this head right here, more than likely. This is a Just Nasty that I modified, and I put a cut on contact tip on it, which is I really love that design, because should you go in like the front part of the turkey and lodge in those tough pulley bones, and right here in the V right here is really tough on a turkey, this point goes on in and goes deep enough to stick in his heart, because his heart's just right behind. With the trad bow, my idea was to shoot a more traditional head, and I shot Simmons, and they work really well. But my idea was there'll be no shot that I can't take with these. I'll be able to blow through the butt of the wing, and not have to avoid any angle. Well, I found out the hard way, you can't blow through the butt of the wing. Well, that led me to think, well, if I can't shoot through the butt of the wing with the traditional big trad bow heads like this, the Big Simmons Tree Shark, an excellent head, then I'm going to have to avoid the butt of the wing. And that's just all it is to it. So that's kind of the strategy this year. Well, I said, well, if I got to avoid the butt of the wing, then maybe I can shoot a mechanical head. You get to looking at the difference, and this is one of the biggest trad bow heads there is. It's a 2-inch Simmons. I added a bleeder to it. You come over here and you get, say, Tim Knight's bipolar and compare it to it. Well, the bipolar is a little bigger than the Tree Shark in that direction, and then it's got 2 fixed blades in that direction that's bigger than these bleeders that I added. So the bipolar is actually bigger than the Simmons Tree Shark. And you pick up a head like the Stiletto, I'm considering shooting it out of the trad bow. Well, it dwarfs the Simmons in that direction, and in this direction it's got a little cut on contact tip, and it's almost as big as the bleeder I added. I may make some of the traditional hunters' heads explode, but I'm going to shoot a mechanical head this year out of my trad bow some, and I'm going to shoot it until it proves that it doesn't work for me. That's pretty much all I got, and we'll see y'all this spring.